Here's to a mild autumn and clear roads across the U.S. from the Allen Lund Company.
Welcome to Trucking with OIDA. I'm Scott Thompson.
And I'm Ashley Blackford.
50 years ago this year, Ashley,
Crazy.
Landline Magazine was founded. And
I was not alive.
You were not alive, neither was I, actually. But someone who was, Todd Spencer, President and CEO of OIDA, is going to be here to talk about it because he was here at the beginning. We're also going to talk coffee.
Yes, we're going to have the owner of the Road Dog Coffee Company on, Spencer Squier. He is going to talk about the future of the company as well as his venture into the podcast world. So we're going to ask him all about that and see how he's doing.
Looking forward to that. But first, without any further ado, Mr. Todd Spencer. You know, Ashley, we were just talking about Landline Magazine. The 50th anniversary issue is out now.
Yes.
There is one person who's been around and involved since the very beginning, since day one. He is currently the president and CEO of OIDA. He's also the publisher of Landline Magazine to this day, and was once the magazine's very first editor. And here he is, Todd Spencer.
Welcome.
How about that introduction, Todd?
Hey, great introduction, I guess.
Well, let's start. Let's go back, and we're going to ask you to kind of go into the recesses of your
memory lane.
Yeah, exactly. 50 years ago, the start of Landline Magazine. We're talking. Let me do the math here. Was it 1975? And like many things at OIDA, this was Jim Johnston's idea, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Well, yeah. In the early days of the organization, we basically had a newsletter, and that we would send out to members of the organization and others that we hoped we would be members. But the newsletter was, there wasn't much to it. It wasn't really very big. And, what we realized, there were trucking magazines around back then, and there were trucking magazines, but they weren't really covering the kinds of issues that we thought were important to truckers or should be important to truckers if they were aware of them. Mm-hmm. And those other publications, they had their own ideas. And of course, the thing about commercial publications anyway, is understand the method of the madness there is basically to generate revenue from advertising.
Right.
So
right.
Not necessarily to carry a message that could be helpful to truckers.
Yeah.
So
the
anyway, the idea was, we need our own magazine. And if we could just find somebody that would be maybe, I would say capable of doing it, but had the desire and be silly enough to believe that stuff like this could be done.
And that person was you?
Right? No, there was an editor before me.
Okay, I gotcha.
There were probably a couple, but as we're pretty much, it was in the early days, folks could be fired up for a little while. They would be willing to make an investment in time. There wasn't much money available. So it was mostly just invest your time and see where it goes. And after a while, folks burn out on that pretty quick.
That's a pretty big leap, though, from a newsletter, which I'm assuming was like 1 or 2 pages that you'd send out. 4 pages you'd send out in the mail to members. And that's a pretty big leap from that to a published magazine.
Well, if you knew what you were doing to start with, you would realize how big a leap that was.
Sure, yeah. You didn't at the time.
Ignorance
is bliss,
though.
I
was just about to say ignorance is bliss.
If you don't, you can be like lots of folks are in trucking, lots of truckers are. Look, you think you could do anything. And, that's kind of a characteristic of a lot of people, but especially of truckers. And because if you're going to get into this business, you got to be up for a challenge.
Yeah.
Because there are many, and if you're not up for a challenge, you figure that out real quick and you're gone.
Yeah.
So
it still holds true today.
You recognize the challenge and how do I overcome it? How do I deal with it? How do I make this work? So that was kind of the approach with Landline.
Sure.
And in the early days, obviously, we didn't have money for much. The first publications were about 38 pages, and the first real circulation we had was about 30,000 copies.
Wow.
And
That's nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, no,
well,
that's
no,
impressive.
I mean, there were certainly more truckers than that, but that was all the truckers that we knew.
Sure.
Mm.
Yeah.
And and of course, not all the people that got landline were members. They were subscribers to the magazine because they were qualified. They were truckers. We knew they should be members, and we knew that they would all benefit from basically becoming aware of the issues that affect their lives. And once you become aware of those issues, then the process should be, how do we deal with this? How do we make this? How do we modify this stuff so it's fair, it's better, we get a better deal out of it? And that's always been the approach the magazine has taken, that OOIDA has taken, and still do.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Can we talk about the name Landline Magazine? Do you remember who came up with that? How that was come up with?
Well, it was part of groupthink, and of course, the connection with trucking is, I suppose, it's a connection with anything. A landline was in those days a phone, and that was basically the only way that people had to communicate with each other. And so, the connection between communication and getting to whoever you wanted to get to, that's where landline came from. And it seems like a clunky name, and it sort of has to me too. However, through the years, it resonates with lots of truckers.
Yeah.
So, and if you know what it is, then you're halfway there.
You're talking about those early days, and I think it's interesting. And again, we're asking you to kind of go back 50 years, which it's a while ago. But those early days, where were you meeting? Who was involved? What were those conversations like as you're talking about the issues that you want to get out there so that people are not only aware of them, but also, coming together to take action on them? It sounds exciting, those early days. Do you look back and remember it being exciting or overwhelming? Or what do you remember?
Well, it's all of that, both exciting and overwhelming, because bear in mind, here we are as a group basically trying to introduce ourselves to more and more truckers all the time. Well, we're also trying to introduce ourselves and make ourselves better acquainted and educated back and forth with lawmakers and also with policymakers. The world was much, much different back then in that it was significantly smaller. There weren't so many things around as there are today. I mean, you could actually talk. It was a lot easier to talk one-on-one with lawmakers, a lot easier to talk one-on-one with policymakers. And because bear in mind, there's a history here too, in that OIDA was started as a result of a shutdown. And that shutdown was a real wake-up call to folks in Washington, D.C., because at the time, their perception of trucking was basically the American Trucking Association, that we have these big trucking companies that deliver our nation's freight. And then, as now, most of trucking is actually moved by small guys. And these were folks that lawmakers had never talked to before. They'd never even heard of.
Didn't even know they existed,
Policymakers, too. They didn't know they existed.
Yeah.
So yeah, we spent a lot of time doing that. We also had members of our board of directors and other volunteer activists that basically were on the same page, that would talk to lawmakers about the issues that we had with fuel, but issues we had with loading and unloading. I'll be darned, some of the issues we're still talking about today. And detaining truckers,
Sounds
shippers
familiar.
and receivers.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, sounds familiar.
Plenty of the scams that were going on then, a lot of them are still around today.
Yeah.
They've just gotten much more sophisticated about how they do it.
I think you bring up a great point, too, because the initial idea for the magazine, again, was to make sure that people are aware of these issues and are figuring out a way to take action on them. But in hearing you speak, too, there are a lot of people out there that, again, lawmakers were not paying attention to them. They didn't know that they existed. This, I would imagine, the magazine also gave them a place and an avenue for saying, hey, we're not alone. There are other people out there like us who are dealing with the same things. Obviously, they have those conversations at truck stops and elsewhere, but to see it, on a grander scale, that had to mean something too.
Oh, yeah. And like I said, this was a time when we were basically educating all kinds of folks about what trucking was really like. And, some of that stuff, the need for that is still today as much as it was then, in that lawmakers turn over on a pretty regular basis.
Yep.
And what we know to be a fact is that while you can talk to lawmakers, if you really the people you really want to educate on your issues are basically the staff and the lawmakers' offices that work on these issues. These are the folks that really will try to resolve problems, and you work with them to the extent that you can, and try to make progress and build consensus. And for us nowadays, it's a matter of getting other like-minded groups that will benefit from coming up with real solutions.
Yeah.
That's how you can kind of move the ball forward.
Yeah.
And, and again, having the ability to communicate, to let folks know what's going on, to encourage support, to educate, all that stuff is important. And, in trucking, we're not a static group. It turns over all the time. When we talk about driver turnover, is a big issue. Also, for most truckers out there, or certainly many out there, they're a little bit on the older side. They're a little bit on the older side. Many of them are going to retire, move on to other things, and they'll be replaced by new people. And those new people are just like, they're babes in the woods.
Yeah.
And they need to be informed. They need to be educated. Need to learn how things really work.
Yeah. And where they're getting that information these days,
well,
there's a lot of bad information out there.
And you bring out a needed point. Long ago, there wasn't much information available to truckers on how things really work and how you can improve yourself. Now you've got everybody in the world that's saying, yeah, do this, do this, do this, do this. So, sometimes some of it's good, some of it not so much, and some of it can be very, very harmful.
Yeah.
Anytime I think back, thinking back 50 years, I mean, you obviously didn't have computers, you didn't have cell phones at your fingertips. What was it like, as far as like many of the issues you mentioned, in looking into those, investigating those, finding information? What was the process like in gathering all that information, putting it together into the magazine?
Then as now, a lot of the issues that come up for truckers, we hear about directly from truckers, from our membership. If there's new scams going on, whether it's companies or other things, they'll call and say and tell, and they're interested in folks that are interested in coming up with resolutions, and that's what we do. We try to resolve problems for our members, and then as now we hear about it from folks that are out there on the road experiencing it firsthand. And then, of course, OIDA has a board of directors, and our board of directors, many of those are involved either in roles of being an activist to meet with lawmakers and other people, to communicate with the media.
Yeah.
These are truckers, these are people that have seen the world of trucking firsthand from behind the wheel, and they're good sources of knowledge. Yeah. And activists for the organization, recruit truckers that are willing to testify at hearings, to communicate with lawmakers, real people.
Yeah,
and those are good things.
Yeah. You talk about how things, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Obviously, quite a few differences between 1975 and 2025. Some similarities for sure. One thing that I don't think would happen in 2025 is, and this is the story that I've heard, and correct us if I'm wrong, but you, I believe, sold a truck to pay for the first typesetting machine for Landline magazine.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
That wa-
the truck that I owned that I was driving to make a living with prior to coming into the office. Yeah.
was that a tough decision? I mean, it seems
Well,
like that would be a tough decision, or maybe not. I don't know.
well, the decision to sell the truck wasn't a tough decision because
Sure.
I decided then with the anticipation of moving on to another avenue of my life, that wasn't a tough decision. Now investing it in buying a piece of equipment to make my job better.
Sure.
Now, I pondered that just a little bit, but
Yeah.
not really. The investment would make my job easier to do.
Right.
And bear in mind, again, a typesetter, that's a tool for work, and it was work.
Sure.
And certainly, and again, a lot more work than I ever initially anticipated. Publishing a magazine was a whole lot more work than I ever
Yeah.
imagined. So, and the best decisions I ever made when I was able to entice people to come to work for us that actually knew what they were doing in those areas.
Yeah.
Sandy Sonker being
Right.
the principal one, who was our managing editor for a lot of years.
She came in the mid '80s, right?
Yep,
I think.
Yep.
So you're talking like 10 years in at that point.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So you learned a few things
Well,
over that 10-year period, I would assume,
well, yeah.
about how to do things the right way and the wrong way, I imagine.
Well, there were improvements made.
Sure.
But again, there's a lot to it. And I was also smart enough to realize that I didn't know what I really needed to know, so I looked around for avenues of where can I get a little help on this? And I was fortunate enough I was aware of a program called the Service Corps of Retired Executives that existed back in those days. And what that was something that the government had put together, basically where they would create programs where retired executives that still wanted to be active, that still wanted to, that didn't want to just sit home or
Sure.
things like that stay active in in things that they knew something about it. Well, I reached out to them, and right here in Kansas City, there actually was a recently retired magazine publisher.
That fits?
Yep,
Wow.
that
fits
was
pretty well.
part of Service Corps of Retired Executives.
So that person came in and helped you.
Reached out and started educating, informing me about how you do some of these things
Yeah.
Interesting.
and how you go about it. And it was really, really fortunate.
Well, and again, you had a career before this and have a career now, but you were a truck driver. I think you had worked on the high school newspaper, and I know this from reading Landline magazine,
Sure.
actually. But beyond that, I mean, you didn't really have much experience in this at all, right?
No, well, from my earliest days driving a truck, once I became aware of the organization, well, I would write columns and write things like that would run in the magazine.
Right.
I would take pictures for the magazine.
Right.
Wow.
But as far as being a publisher, though,
No, none of
Yeah.
those
Whole
things.
different, yeah.
that's a bit of
So
a
I
leap.
was a contributor to it when I was still driving trucks.
Sure.
So,
What some of those first editions, do you recall, like, what did they look like?
well, they looked really, really primitive.
They had words.
Yes.
And a few pictures.
Yeah, well, and oftentimes in those days, we would actually print copies of our congressional testimony. We would just put them right verbatim in the magazine. So,
Well, they weren't
truckers
watching them
and
on
others-
YouTube. They couldn't see them on YouTube back in the day.
No, truckers and others could see exactly what we
Right.
told Congress.
Wow.
And it was, and nobody else did that, and nobody else ever would.
Sure.
So, but we thought it was important, basically, for these are the things that are going on, and this is how we're communicating, and generally, pretty much all the truckers that read the stuff said would be in agreement.
Yeah. This may be tough to quantify, and I think it probably is tough to quantify, but the lines of OIDA and Landline magazine, the magazine came through, a couple years, I guess, after
Yep.
OIDA was formed. How integral has the magazine been in, again, kind of what we're talking about, spreading the message of OIDA, making people aware of these issues, Where do those lines kind of cross in terms of the mission and the growth over the years?
Well, Landline is a commercial publication. Uh, uh, ideally, we hoped it would be commercially successful enough that it could kind of pay its way
Mm-hmm.
through advertising dollars and things like that. Now, we were always really, really picky about whose advertising we would take because, because we're all about compliance with regulations and treating people fairly.
Yep.
And if your product is snake oil, baby,
No thanks.
we're gonna look at it and we're gonna give it a hard, objective look. And if it's not gonna perform, we're not gonna, no matter what money's involved, we're not gonna be peddling it.
Yeah.
So, truckers look to us for a certain amount of credibility. You recognizing that if it's not something that's on the up and up, we're not going to be associated with it. And if we are, then that also means that probably it has a level of credibility.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
Now, there were other trucking industry magazines back in 1975. What do you think separated Landline magazine from the others?
well, I guess it would have to be the focus of our content, because again, it was about change for the working conditions and the regulatory issues that directly affect truckers. And for other publications, obviously because of the way they're structured, they're going to be much more likely to, I'm going to say, downplay those or downplay those issues. They're not going to have the same priorities on change issues that truckers would. So they're going to focus more on things that will please advertisers and generate bucks for them. And that's their business model. But ours has always been a little bit different because we thought the mission of the organization would be better served making sure that our publication reflected that. And of course, one of the things that from the very beginning, generally truckers have paid top dollar for pretty much everything that they buy in trucking.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we've tried to level the playing field a little bit in that area in that, just because you're a small operator, a one-truck operator, if you're combined with other people, why would you not be able to get the benefits of big fleet purchases? So that's what we've tried to do with our programs at OIDA, and we share that through Landline.
Yeah.
So let folks know and create the opportunity that, hey, look, if you're willing to stick together, to work together on these things, there'll be better opportunities down the road. But one, get in the game, participate, and this will pay off.
We're spending a lot of time, looking back, obviously, with this being the 50th anniversary of Landline Magazine. We're kind of looking at the present landscape as it is right now and what the magazine has become. Have you spent time thinking about what the next 50 years looks like? And I know you don't have a crystal ball in front of you or anything, but I assume you've thought about these things and what this is going to look like in the future. Do you have any thoughts about where we're heading here with everything? Social media, internet, all these things that are going on out there right now.
Well, I think probably we've seen pretty much throughout our whole country and maybe throughout the world, the reliance on print technology basically is waning with the passage of time, and that's going to continue. That's going to continue because with technology, with digital stuff, it can all be done so much faster.
Yeah. And anybody can do it, which is part of the problem.
Well, sure.
Sure, yeah.
It could all be done so much faster, and basically we live in a time when people want instantaneous everything.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's certainly going to change going down the road and be less and less. It'll be certainly less, I'm going to say less, there'll be less of it going down the road, but still, there's still going to be, books aren't going to go away. magazines aren't going to go away because, one, there still is a certain power, a certain power. There's a certain level of enjoyment of being able to have something in your hand
Sure.
that you can read, you can highlight,
Yep.
you can come back to, you can save.
Yeah. I can't read a book on those Kindles or anything like that. I can't do it. But for Landline Magazine, though, the mission, as we look ahead here to the future, the mission's going to stay the same for the magazine.
Absolutely.
The same one it's been from the beginning.
Sure. And, we just, we're always looking for ways we can better tone our message to reach an audience that, one, is changing all the time, and that's mobile all the time.
Yeah.
So
challenges.
And that's going to continue too.
Yeah.
Whether it's 1975 or 2025, challenges abound.
Yes, yeah.
What were you going to say, Ashley?
I know one thing I hear from Marty a lot when he's on the road is a lot of people stop him and just say how appreciative they are of the magazine, that they still get it. And, I think people worry that it might go away, but we're not going anywhere, right?
Well, not for a while anyway.
Not for a while. Todd, we don't have a lot of time here, maybe 30 seconds. Just want to give you a chance. Final thoughts here on this issue. Anything else you got on your mind that you want to let people know about?
Hey, let people know about, look, the mission here at OIDA, whether it's communicated through the medium that we're on right now or through landline, is change is possible. Improvements are there. If we do the things that we need to do to encourage that, to motivate that, to work for that, and that's what we do here. You can read all about that stuff in Landline, also through Landline Media and at OIDA.com, fightingfortruckers.com. That's what we've been doing for over 50 years right now and plan to do it for the next 50 as well.
Todd Spencer, everybody. Todd, we appreciate your time as always.
All right.
Trucking with OIDA continues right after this.
Welcome back to Trucking with OOIDA. A coffee company that focuses on fueling truckers is continuing to expand. Spencer Squier created the Road Dog Coffee Company. He joins us now. Spencer, how's it going?
It is going wonderful. Great to be here.
Good. Glad to have you. I'm curious, for those who don't know, I know you and I have talked a couple of times, but how did Road Dog Coffee come to be?
So I spent 25 plus years in trucking. Had a trucking company and had an exit in 2021. And I was kind of debating on what my next move would be. So during 2020, during the pandemic shutdown, every time you turn on the TV, all you heard was our truckers are our heroes, and they're bringing the essential goods, and thank God for truckers. And I thought about it, and then as the years progressed, 21, 22, I decided to go ahead and launch the world's first coffee company to showcase and give back to the trucking industry, because I'm a coffee nut and I love truckers and trucking. So, the two go hand in hand. It's kind of odd that trucking and coffee go hand in hand, right? So, so I launched the company. 23 was like a build year of your bags and the website. And 24 we officially launched in March at Matt's, and we've had pretty good success with it so far. We're getting ready to go on Target and Walmart's platforms. We're on Amazon now with the Road Dog Coffee Company store. We're in 55 grocery stores locally here in North and South Carolina. Just trying to keep the expansion going and keep spread the word.
You don't just launch and do a coffee company, I would assume, without knowing a little something about coffee, right? I mean, you came in with I would assume some knowledge with Yeah, I mean, I've always been a fan of coffee. I've always been intrigued by it, just with the technical, aspects of it. The beans, the putting the beans together, what regions go complement each other. I would actually roast coffee here at home in a like a sample roaster and just kind of create my own blends. So I decided to go ahead and just let's scale this thing. Let's just do it, and let's create a premium coffee that
truckers can access while they're on the road. And also, with Road Dog Coffee Company, so we've got an awareness side and accessibility side. So the awareness side was to serve coffee. Our mission statement is Road Dog Coffee Company serves coffee to anyone that supports trucking. So if you're the general public, you're not in trucking, but you love coffee, it's a way for us to keep the industry in front of people through coffee.
Yeah, that's great.
So, and then it gives our drivers access, right, to take on the road with them, because you can't get a premium cup coffee on the road in truck stops. You can't do it.
Yeah. One of the things I think that I noticed straight away, I know you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but if someone were to judge your coffee based on the bag, how it looks, I don't think they'd be disappointed. Obviously, we got people listening, so they maybe haven't seen it. Describe what, each of your blends have a different look. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So, like our Women Truckers coffee, it's a great light roast. It's actually one of my favorite coffees, and we launched it in October last year for cancer awareness. Because note the all pink bag. It's a light roast. It's an Ethiopian Yirgacheffe and the Mexican Chiapas blend, which is and coffee was it was started in Ethiopia, right? Well, that's where coffee was invented from. So that coffee, it serves a purpose. Like I said, it's a light roast, and I'm not saying women like light roast coffee a lot like dark roast, but it just seemed, a lot of people have asked me to launch a light roast coffee. And so it was a lot of women who have asked me to launch a light roast coffee, like a blonde, right? So it just kind of, that's kind of where that came from. Our medium roast Highways and Heroes is actually the same bean profile makeup, but it's a medium roast. We launched that because we're the official coffee for Reeds Across America, right? So we did that in December for our veteran truck drivers to showcase those guys, because it's the most diverse group in trucking. It's a good medium roast, a great, just all day drinking coffee, kind of like long haul. Then you have Black Dog, which is our biggest seller, the high caffeine, ultra dark roast, designed to scare the sleep out of you. So that, when I was starting this thing, I wanted to bring not just awareness, but also share historical things about trucking with the general public. And we're getting ready to launch some other different things, like on our email list, like CB terms, historical facts about trucking, just to kind of keep people engaged in the industry and educate the general public about the industry. But Black Dog, that had to be one of my first launches. That old urban legend, bring that thing to life through coffee. And plus, it's a really cool looking bag too, though. So it really turned out nice.
That transition, I just want to get to this because I think it's interesting. You're talking about the growth of your company, and it's happened pretty quickly. I don't know if that's surprised you, because we're talking just a few years here, right? To where you are now, and you're expanding very rapidly. But that transition from trucking to what you're doing now, what did that look like? You made the decision, but I imagine that was a pretty big decision at the time.
Yeah, it was. Anytime you start something new, you're kind of unsure because, coffee in 2024, launching a coffee company in 2024 was probably a very stupid thing to do just because coffee is, green bean coffee is expensive right now. It's the price per pound has just astronomically gone up. It's gone from back in the day at $2.50 to $3.50 a pound. It's now at like $4, $5 plus to $7 a pound, depending on the grade and where you're getting your beans from, where you're sourcing them from, what country. But so it was a gamble. It was a gamble, and it was very scary to launch a coffee company. Especially in an industry that I was unfamiliar with. I was very familiar with trucking. Could have done another trucking company or logistics company, a brokerage company, whatever, been fine. But I wanted to do something, fun, crazy, but also serve the industry in another way. and I'm doing it through coffee because, nobody's doing that. And we all know coffee is a household product. Everybody drinks coffee. So it just made sense. It just made sense because, and it goes back, like I said, in 2020, when things were shut down, all you heard was our truckers are heroes. And then, 21 comes around and what happens? They're the forgotten man and woman again. They're just like, there's no natural disaster going on. There's nothing happening. And so they're just kind of, just put to the wayside. And my goal and my mission is to kind of change that narrative. Just kind of let's bring it back and keep it in the forefront as much as we can, but we're going to do it through coffee because it just makes sense.
Can you go back a bit with us? How, your career-wise, did you start out in trucking? Talk to us a little bit about that.
No, so I actually, back in 1996, I was actually working for Bell South, the phone company, and I was actually, we did what was called PBX phone systems, like your telephone systems for offices and fiber optics and things. So our office was right beside of a healthcare company that served patients in their homes through private home health care infusion type thing. So my, she became my wife, but the girl I was dating, she was working there as a nurse manager. And I was at the office one Saturday actually washing vans for extra money on the weekends. And she came outside one afternoon in a panic, and they had a couple of customers, patients coming online, one from Duke Hospital and another one, I forgot from where. But the courier company that they were using they were very unreliable. And she couldn't get a hold of them. So she came outside in a panic and asked if I would help out with some deliveries, a couple of deliveries. When I got done, I'm like, sure, no problem. So got done, grabbed them, took off, and delivered both of them. The next day, the lady who was one of the ladies I delivered medicine to called in and was talking about the new courier driver that you guys had. I love him so much. He put my medicine up for me in my refrigerator. He was sweet. He hauled off the cooler for me. And, and I didn't know this because, like UPS and FedEx drivers, there's a reason why they don't come in your house, right? Insurance, they're not allowed to. I didn't know that. So I'm not just like coming in her house, putting her stuff up and having a conversation with her. And, because she's, she was a small, frail little lady. And this cooler she was on this medicine called TPN, and it had ice packs in it. It probably weighed 35 pounds, everything, all together, 30 to 35 pounds. So, and I took Coral and their coolers back and stuff. So anyway, that happened. And then my wife, girlfriend at the time, said, we're going to start holding our deliveries out till you get off. When you get off work at 5 o'clock, you go and do them. Our stat stuff, we'll use the courier guys. So I was kind of doing that for like a couple of weeks. And then it just kind of, turned into, let's talk to Eric, the general manager, let's talk about taking over the whole account. So I did that. And then, so I was running, the loads myself out of a Geo Prism car. If you remember the Geos back in the day, a glorified Toyota Corolla.
Yeah.
Had the aluminum upgraded wheels on it, by the way. But anyway, so we just kind of grew and, eventually took over the Red Cross in North Carolina, was doing shuttle runs for those guys, deliveries to hospitals, and even stat deliveries that had to, blood had to be taken to a hospital to save somebody's life or surgery or whatever. So then 2000, and that was in 1996 up until about 2000, I kept seeing these straight trucks running around, on the highways. And if you remember back in the day, these straight trucks with the big, 22-foot straight trucks, the FL70s with the sleepers on them, and had in orange and brown letters had Roberts Express on the side of it. Remember the old Roberts Express that's now FedEx Custom Critical? And I thought to myself, that's a really strange looking straight truck. Never seen anything. Because, you think of a straight truck, you think of your like riders, your day cabs, your local P&D type. And so I started doing some, checking around and went out and rented a budget straight truck and a Suzuki cab over. My first two customers were Tri-State Expedite that a buddy of mine, John Elliott, that owns Load One, just acquired, and TST Expedite out of Canada. That was my first two customers. So I was running the weekly run from Coldwater, Michigan from Statesville, North Carolina to Coldwater, Michigan for TST. And I'd turn and burn and come back doing dispatch, operate, everything on the phone, right? And then Sherry finally quit the healthcare and came in and started, doing the books and things like that. So we just kind of grew that and became one of the biggest expediters in the country. And then in 2021, we separated, divorced, sold the company, and now I'm doing this, coffee.
At Truck Stop, we built a better load board for carriers like you. Sign up today and access over 600,000 loads on the most trusted online load board. Learn why the best in the business rely on Truck Stop to make more money and start driving your profit today.
Penske is the trusted source for quality used trucks. Whether you search our website, call our sales staff, or bid at our online auction, you are sure to find the right used truck for your business. Visit PenskeUsedTrucks.com to view our inventory and learn more.
House Products provides your diesel with total performance and protection. Use Diesel Defender for a full system cleaning. Start treatment early with Diesel Treat to prevent gelling all season. And protect yourself from winter emergencies with Diesel Lifeline. Stay moving with House.
Attention all truckers, Dean Michael, the tax doctor here. I want to talk to you about those dreaded tax problems. I know you want to keep on trucking and not even think about them, but let's face it, they're not going away all on their own. You need professional help. I've been helping truckers put their tax problems in the rearview mirror for years. I can help you too. Call me now for a free consultation at 888-557-4020 or go to mytaxhelpmd.com. It's like I always say, keep your eyes on the road, I'll keep mine on the IRS. 888-557-4020.
Truckers, your engine works as hard as you do. Don't let torsional vibrations sideline your rig. Vibrotech TVD viscous dampers protect your crankshaft, cut downtime, and keep you earning mile after mile. Over 75 years of trusted protection made in the USA. Find a dealer at vibrotechtvd.com.
Since you started, what you've loved about trucking is the freedom. Heading out on your favorite route, a good driving song, and thinking about truck insurance. Well, maybe not that last one. That's why we're here. At OOIDA, we have a full range of truck insurance products, expert advice, and great customer service, helping you get the right coverage for your operation. Go to OOIDA.com, because your job is to drive. Our job is to help with everything else.
And we're talking with Spencer Squier of the Road Dog Coffee Company. Spencer, we're talking about kind of this, transition from your career in trucking. You explained that there to what you're doing now with this coffee company. And I'm curious because, again, I think the transition is interesting, going from one thing to the other, and obviously there's a connection there between the two. But what has kind of surprised you, I guess, the most in making this transition? Are there correlations to trucking that you found like, oh, this links up pretty well, or things that maybe don't as much that kind of surprised you? What's been kind of the thing that you've been taken aback by the most?
Well, obviously, the love for coffee and has been very well perceived from, in the industry. But, the thing that's kind of surprised me the most is it's not, coffee is a very competitive industry right now. Everybody and their mom is getting into it. And I think that, again, going back to 2020, that really created a lot of coffee companies to be launched. So it's a very competitive market. So we're we don't have that stronghold yet on the trucking industry like we'd like to get. But we'll get there. We've only been doing this like a year and a half now, and Rome wasn't built in a day, right? So, but one thing I'll tell you that has really been pretty cool is the perception we've had at truck shows, and just doing storytelling and the just to the general public. And I even had, believe it or not, I had just up the road here, we have a private country club, and they actually asked me to come and be the official coffee for a pro-am that they were doing.
Nice.
So much like, that's really cool, that you've got a private country club is wanting a trucking centric coffee company to come out and be the official coffee for the pro-am. And we gave bags away to all the pros and the players. And then I had, and then that's then there was another private country club over in Greensboro, North Carolina, that's want me to come over there and duplicate the same thing. They're in the process of redoing their course when they get done. So it's really cool how people outside of trucking have really gravitated to this thing and just love the concept and what we're trying to do here. They love it.
Yeah, that's great.
The amount of people that talk about, truckers, and you hear it all the time is, you hear people say, if it weren't for our trucking community, we would have nothing. So we've got that, and we've got a couple I've got a couple other projects. Well, one's underway now, and another one's coming in the coming weeks, I guess.
Can you talk about those?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, one's the Road Dog Coffee podcast that we launched last week. We had our first episode. It's at YouTube. Well, you can go to YouTube and it's at Road Dog Coffee Podcast. Look for that blue medallion logo. The mic itself is a coffee bean on the mic stand. So, that's a podcast that's about the tagline for it is caffeine, trucking, and everything else. So it's not a podcast. I didn't want to do a podcast that's designed around, trying to compete against like what OIDA podcast will be doing, or Freightways will be doing, or anything else that's promoting news and updates on the news, laws, and all that kind of stuff. This is a podcast designed around stories from the road. Guys who are engaged in life-saving events on the road. It can be, just anything. It can be talk about anything around coffee and trucking and everything. So it's just kind of a casual conversation that's going to be entertaining, that's going to engage people.
That's awesome.
Because
that's great.
I think that, there's other outlets and other podcasts people can go for their news and all the industry-related stuff, your laws and all. That's boring stuff.
Sure.
Nobody, there's enough of that out there. We don't need more of it. The other product is actually I'm getting ready to launch Road Dog Cigar Company, because I'm a huge cigar nut. So coffee and cigars go hand in hand, because a lot of people don't realize the coffee tree is a sister plant to like the tobacco. You have the same similarities and flavor profiles. So we're launching our Long Haul, which is a Corojo wrapper, our Highways and Heroes, that is a Connecticut wrapper, and our Black Dog Maduro wrapper.
Wow.
Same concept, portion of the proceeds to go back to the industry kind of thing, same concept. And we're going to serve, again, to the general public, we're going to serve awareness through cigars. And, we've already made our first sale with the Broker Carrier Summit. They're going to have, I think they're going to have some at their Broker Carrier Summit coming up in October. So they've already purchased some from us.
That's great.
Yeah.
Building an empire.
Yeah, and hopefully soon we'll have the RDCC fund, which is a 501c3, up and running. That's been taking a little longer than it's supposed to, because I can't decide on my board and things like that. So, but yeah, so it's just doing everything I can do to bring awareness to the general public and keep trucking in the forefront.
Yeah, for sure.
And coffee and cigars is a great way, because a lot of people smoke, and the cigar industry is booming. And
right?
we're the first cigar company to do this. We're the first coffee company, now I'm the first cigar company to do this. And I'm really excited about it. Really excited about it. And the cigars. So we've partnered with a manufacturer that's known for their premium cigars. They're a small boutique premium brand, and they age their tobacco for 10 years. They're one of few that do that. So these cigars, I'm telling you, are phenomenal. They are good.
Yeah.
They are good. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about, I know I talked to you, I think last year, about the Dave Nemo blend that you put out.
Yeah.
Trucking with OIDA, of course, airs on Radio Nemo.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Is that still available, or how did that do?
Yeah, it's done pretty well. Yeah, it's still online. We're still not sold out of it yet. Still got a few more bags out there. But yes, if everybody goes to roaddogcoffee.com, you can get it there. That's the only place you can get it.
Nice. Did you ever imagine when you started planning out Road Dog Coffee that you'd be where you are today?
No. 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 Because, when you go into something and, I'm part of a group, it's a worldwide group called YPO, Young Presidents Organization. And it's a lot of business leaders around the world. And you hear a lot of these guys, these men and women talk about their businesses when they launch something, that entrepreneurial spirit. When you go into something that you're familiar with, but you're unfamiliar with, it's uncharted waters. So you're really not sure. You can have a business plan, and business plans are great for raising money, and business plans are, great for accountability, but you don't know how the market's going to react to it. So you're constantly having to pivot and adjust. So yeah, it's been a whirlwind. I'll tell you that.
That's awesome.
But we're still here. We're still here. We're not out of business. So we're still here.
Yeah.
We're still chugging along. So
staying busy.
All right. Yes.
Yeah.
We are almost out of time, but I wanted to ask you websites where people can go to find your coffee and then also your podcast.
Yeah. So, okay. The podcast is on the Logistics Lounge platform, SteamYard, I believe it is. Yeah. SteamYard. You can watch it there or go. We encourage people to go to YouTube to at Road Dog Coffee Podcast. Look for that blue medallion. Subscribe, watch. It's live on Thursday mornings at 9:00 in the morning Eastern time, and they will upload. And then the coffee, rooddogcoffee.com. And then soon to be in the next couple of months, rooddogcigar.com. So
busy man.
If you go to rooddogcoffee.com, subscribe there for the newsletters. Everything will be, funneled through that as well as the podcast. Subscribe, listen to the podcast, and get your updates there as well.
Awesome. Spencer,
excellent.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and I'm excited
to
hear your success.
Yeah. I'd love to come on again.
For sure.
Let's talk about some stuff in the next couple of months, see how cigars are going.
Yeah, definitely.
Sounds good.
Thank you so
again,
much.
Spencer. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, be well.
And we're back again. Spencer Squier there of the Road Dog Coffee Company.
Yes.
I'm always amazed by the ingenuity of people in general, but truck drivers especially.
Yeah.
This idea, like when he talks about it, it makes great sense.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know what the numbers are, but I imagine
I think he's doing pretty well, yeah.
And a high percentage of people out on the road are drinking coffee.
Smart idea, and clearly he's done well.
He's done well there. And then the cigar company, interesting idea there.
I'm not one for a cigar, but I wish him good luck.
Yeah, well, maybe this will be your avenue in. Maybe you'll start smoking cigars like Red Auerbach of the Boston Celtics or something. Well, there you go. Yeah, check out his website there. Check out some coffee, some cigars, and we'll talk to him again next time we talk to him. Maybe it's something new.
Yeah, very well could be.
Thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you next time.
Today's episode of Trucking with OOIDA was brought to you by a dedicated team of people that includes Jim Fetzer, Tennille Flick, and Kim Boren.
You got thoughts? We'd love to hear them. You can call us at 1-800-324-6856 and leave us a message, or send us an email at podcast@ooida.com, and we might just include it on the show.